Hello again, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome once again to Looking Into Our Past. We're going to take a look at the branches of our U.S. military, and I felt it was important that we start off with one of the toughest branches, and sometimes one of the most overlooked, the U.S. Marines. Let's talk about how tough you have to be a U.S. Marine. And then we'll talk about some history. The U.S. Marines, we know, everyone talks about the Crucible. And the Crucible is a 3-day event that basically a Marine has to go through. Basically, he faces conditions that he might face in a battle situation, and conditions when technology will fail. And basically, the Marine has no choice but to become the ultimate weapon. They're sleep deprived. And they're, constant drills. They're on the go. That's the Crucible. Everyone thinks about that. But what most people don't realize is that the Marines spend more time in basic training than any other branch of the service. The U.S. Marines spend more time on the range than any other branch of the U.S. military, which brings to mind that the Marines claim that they are the best marksmen in the world, and I would tend to agree with them, especially looking at some of our history. They have the saying that every Marine is a rifleman. So that means that even if you're going up against a pilot from the U.S. Marine Corps, he can still rain down hell with a rifle. Marines are also trained that on the battlefield, every weapon they can use pretty much any weapon on the battlefield. That's pretty freaking awesome. So an armed Marine is it doesn't matter. A Marine is a dangerous weapon. All right, let's talk about some history. We know that the Marines were basically given the green light to form in 1776 by an act of the Second Continental Congress. The first Marine Corps recruiting drive happened at Tun Tavern in Pennsylvania. There is some speculation on this, saying that that's legend. I'm not going to get into that. If the Marines say it happened that way, then that's the way it happened. I'm not going to argue with a Marine. Okay, let's leave it at that. So that's as it is here on the Prince Magnum channel. The first time, to my knowledge, the Marines had serious ground combat was in the First World War in June of 1918, nearly 100 years ago as I'm making this video. And the battle in question, the Battle of Belleau Wood. A lot of things happened in this battle. This was the first time that the U.S. was going on the offensive during the First World War. 6 times the U.S. Marines advanced at Belleau Wood. 5 times they were beaten back. However, on the 6th one, they broke through. This was a very important battle. If we had lost that battle, it is quite possible that the Germans could have broke through and been marching down the Champs-Élysées of Paris, France. So this was a very, very important battle. And we lost 10,000 Marines that day. Now, to tell you what kind of opposition the U.S. Marines faced that day, the German soldiers that they were facing at that time were veterans of the Eastern Front. We're not talking just the traditional trench warfare that we're all familiar with hearing about during the First World War. Battle lines changed a lot on the Eastern Front. So these were very tough troops that the U.S. Marines were facing. However, despite that, the U.S. Marines proved their capabilities as marksmen, picking off Germans at 800 yards away. The Germans were shocked by this. They could not believe what they were facing. They believed that the U.S. Had sent in special shock troopers. They had never seen anything like this. And it just proves my point that the U.S. Marines are that great of marksmen. Because of this, the Germans gave our Marines the nickname Teufelhunden. I know I might have massacred that. Teufelhunden, which translates to devil dogs, which the Marines still use today. Yes, we did win the Battle of Belleau Wood. During the Second World War, it should be noted that pretty much every day was D-Day in the Pacific for the U.S. Marines. They were usually the first ones on the ground. The U.S. Army would come in and relieve them, but the first ones on the ground was, guess what, the Marines. The Marines really proved themselves again, that toughness at the Battle of Guadalcanal. The Marines were on the ground using, once again, the O3 Springfield, and they were facing down machine guns from the Japanese. They took the island overnight with bolt-action rifles going against machine guns. Oh my God, that is tough. And they did it again. The Marines proved themselves. The Marines, oftentimes we forget Vietnam, how they really proved themselves. There really was no battle lines in Vietnam. But the one time that we did have a serious battle line, because it was a very unconventional war, was during the Tet Offensive at Hue City. The Marines were tasked at fighting the North Viet Cong there, and they again proved themselves, and they did beat back the North Viet Cong at Hue City. Took them 3 days, but they did it. And even though we lost that war, the Marines, when given a good battle line, they could do what they do best. Also, a lot of people tend to forget that one of the greatest U.S. snipers to ever grace our history came out of Vietnam, Gunnery Sergeant Carlos Hathcock, also known as White Feather, was one of the first snipers to ever take a shot with a 50 caliber, with a 50 cal, proving that the 50 cal could be used as a sniper rifle, and for the longest time had one of the longest shots in history. Won the Wimbledon Cup. If you want more information, please do me a favor. Take a look. There are videos about the Gunnery Sergeant. Definitely take a look at it. They're on YouTube. Just take some time out and take a good long look at it. And before we, get close to ending this, let me say again, the U.S. Marines are some of the greatest marksmen in the world. And to tell you, if you ever were to be in the crosshairs of a Marine scout sniper, don't bother running. You'll only die tired. That brings us to the end of this episode of Looking Into Our Past. I want to take time out to thank the Marine Corps Recruiting Center in Farmington, Missouri, for kind of pointing me in the right direction so I can get the information that I needed to make this video possible. I want to also thank all the branches of our service for defending our country when enemies are afoot. They're the ones who keep our home safe so I can make videos like this. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, hit the like button and hit that subscribe button. And as always, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is, just do something with yourself. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet. And as usual, especially for our brothers in arms around the world who are continuing to defend our country and allowing us to have that First Amendment, the freedom of speech, being free altogether. If nobody has told any of you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.